Hey guys, so I'm doing this Draw My Life tag and I knew it'd take a while, but it's finally here! Well, to start off, it all started on June 8, 1990, where my mom popped me out at 2:26 in the afternoon at St. Vincent Hospital in Worcester, Massachusetts, a small city located in the heart of Massachusetts, full of diversity and ghetto-ness. I grew up in a white house with 13 family members, full of cousins, aunts, and uncles. That's 3 families under one roof. You could say we were helping each other out. In my immediate family, I had my mom and dad who came over from Vietnam in the 70s and met in the US together. They had 3 daughters, with me being the oldest. They named us Christine, Dahlia, and Savannah. We were also called the fruit family because of our nicknames, Apple, Cherry, and Kiwi. This came to be because my dad said I was the apple of his eye and nicknamed me Apple since I was born. Since that name stuck, my parents thought it was fun to nickname my sisters after fruit as well. We're all also 4 years apart. Coincidence? Not entirely. My dad believed that utilizing the Chinese zodiac sign would bring the family luck and have us get along with each other. Growing up with a big family, there was never a dull moment. We had lots of toys, video games, a big backyard to play in with a big blue deck, and a pool. Every day was adventurous to say the least. I remember jumping off the deck in the wintertime after a big storm into the big soft layers of snow. And once in the spring or summer, jumping off with an umbrella to see if I'd float. And I didn't. My cousins and I, we had to look out for each other because our parents worked long hours at the family dry cleaner. Since I was the oldest girl in the family, I had to watch over my baby cousins and sisters, but they basically played all day, so it wasn't a burden. I played a lot with my older cousins who picked on me a lot. I guess I was a sucker because no matter how much they bullied me, I still came back and played with them. Of course, there were many times I was hostile to them and was full of anger, but I was still a kid, so it didn't stick to me too long before I started playing with them again. But during those times when I was upset, I felt lonely and I would drown myself in books and solitude. I remember feeling like there was no one there for me, and I was a very quiet child. I never spoke about my feelings because I didn't know who to trust, not even my own family because they were barely there. I was very introverted and books helped me escape. As I grew older, I was still quiet and reading was still my favorite pastime. I liked to draw as well, and my imagination and creativity flowed out of me so easily. Most of the time you could find me daydreaming. I just found it so much more appealing than the real world. I guess you could say I was an interesting child because I was so caught up with my own world and my own mind. During the summer before going into 8th grade, my family and I moved out and finally got our own house on the other side of the city. We lived in a suburban neighborhood on top of a large hill right next to a water tower. It was called Winter Heights. This side of the city had many kids in the neighborhood for a change, whereas my last neighborhood mainly resided elders. The only thing was, I mainly friended guys in my new neighborhood instead of girls. I think it was easier for me to friend boys since I grew up with so many boys in the house. But at my new school, I met this group of girls that I like to call my best friends. I still keep in touch with them to this day, and I still call them my best friends. During this time period and transition, I knew I could reinvent myself to take myself out of that lonely childhood I once had. At my last school, I was turning into a bully and terrorizing other kids. I guess I knew how to be a bully so well because I was bullied at home. I didn't want to be a bully anymore. I wanted to be a nice girl. With my new group of friends, with a new surrounding, I knew this was my opportunity. I became more social and active during high school. I was in the Engineering and Technology Academy, which I enrolled in without knowing because I followed my friends into it. However, I decided to stay because I ended up liking it. My mind had to think logically, and of course, my creative mind also helped out a bit. However, with this mix of logic and creativity, I wanted to become an architect. I loved looking at homes and drawing up plans. The thing was, I was horrible at math. I've always struggled with math, and I think it's because it was hard for me to grasp the basics when I was in elementary school. I struggled my way with math classes on top of honor and AP classes, but I'm proud to say that I made it through and graduated high school with honors and a member of the National Honor Society. During my last year of high school, my family moved down to Florida due to family drama and issues, but I refused to go down with them. I wanted to spend my senior year of high school with my friends I grew up with and who molded me. I couldn't bear to think of moving away during a crucial part of my high school life. My parents agreed and I moved back to my old house with my aunt and uncle. At that point, the house wasn't as crowded with so many family members like before. Everyone moved out and only one family lived there now. During that year, I felt a sense of freedom. Even though I was still living with family, I knew how to drive, and I had a lot of friends, and I became pretty social. After graduating though, I had to move back to my family in Florida and I got into FIT, Florida Institute of Technology. So in the summer of 2008, I packed up my bags and moved down south. I entered into college majoring in biology and going into pre-med. I wanted to be an architect originally, but it wasn't my interest anymore. I wanted to go into the health field so that I could help others and maybe one day travel around the world to help small communities. About 2 weeks into my first semester, I had some kind of nervous breakdown. I was so unhappy and I didn't want to be there. I didn't like my new surroundings, my new school, and I felt completely alone once again. I withdrew from my college and I moved back up north. I enrolled last minute into a community college to continue my education and found myself a job at the campus bookstore. Even though I was lucky enough to have found a job and my aunt and uncle took me back to their home, the whole ordeal left an uneasy rift in my family relationships, and I struggled a lot. I was constantly broke, and there were many strains on my relationships with my then boyfriend, and school was proving to be difficult. Thinking that advancing my education would improve my life, I transferred to Worcester State College, now Worcester State University, to continue my dream of becoming a doctor. As I finished up my first semester there, I was struggling with my grades. I was losing my passion and I was getting burnt out. I started losing sight of what I really wanted to do and started looking for other options. One day, while sitting in a corner of the science building, looking out the window after taking a chemistry test that I was sure I didn't do well on, I had a crazy idea pop into my head: cosmetology. I could see myself doing that. Going from the medical field into the beauty industry was a scary thought though. It was a huge difference and I didn't like the feeling of not finishing a goal and having others judge me. And even though I do love school, I needed to find a new path. After completing my year at college, I was finally ready to go down south and be reunited with my family, who were happily supporting me. I was ready for the change. In the summer of 2010, I started attending the Veda Institute in Orlando. I went 3 days a week and had 10 to 11-hour days at school. The other 3 days of the week, I worked at a frozen yogurt shop called Red Berry in my town, Rockledge. I kept myself busy and I had to drive back and forth every week to go to school and work. Since I had to be up in Orlando 3 days out of the week, I rented a room from an elderly Vietnamese couple that my mom found through the Vietnamese community. They lived down in the woodsy area right outside of Orlando. They had a lot of land and farmed many fruits and vegetables. They even had a chicken house and a fish pond. It was a small farm and it was a great change for once. My room was on the second floor of the house with a balcony, and it had a skylight that I could see the stars or clouds from while laying in bed. But since it was in a woodsy, farmy area, there were a lot of bugs, and I mean a lot. I was constantly battling spiders and roaches all the time in my room. Raid was my best friend at that time. It was during this time that I started to make videos and post them on YouTube. I was always fascinated and intrigued by recording moments and watching them in the future. I loved watching those moments and I wanted to capture them as much as possible. And then the reason was because I wanted to share my experience with my friends and family back up north. I was interested in making vlogs and it kind of stuck for whenever I traveled or experienced something new. It was my new hobby and it brought back out the creative side of me, which I haven't seen in a long time. Now, attending cosmetology school really took me out of my comfort zone and opened me up. The students there, for the most part, were extroverts and type A personalities to the extreme. We're talking about hair school after all. I was being social more than I ever was, and I learned how to interact with different types of people. This brought out a side of me I never knew I had, and even though I became very social and seemed outgoing, at the end of the day, I still like to curl up in bed with a good book or Netflix. Once I graduated from Aveda, I moved completely back to my family's house and immediately started working at a salon. I had to quit my job at Red Berry and start my career as a working girl. It felt weird to be already starting my career at the age of 20, where most of my peers were still in school. Working at a salon proved to be rewarding in its own way. I liked helping people feel beautiful, especially the ones who needed a change and needed to feel new. But after working a year into my job, my mind kept going back to school. I had an uneasy feeling about not finishing it, and I didn't want to work behind the chair forever. If anything, I wanted to use this career as something I could fall back on, or to juggle with since I tend to get bored easily. After much debating, I gathered up the courage to finally go back to school and finish. I enrolled into Brevard Community College in the spring of 2013, and I'm currently on track to getting my AA degree and get into the nursing program. I want to get back into the medical field and continue to follow my original dream of traveling around the world and helping out. With a job to help support me, I couldn't think of a better time to go back to school. Going back to school, I got a sense of familiarity after taking a break for 2 years. I'm back into the swing of things and I feel refreshed and focused. I didn't choose the traditional path of schooling for sure, but the way things played out seemed to work out in my favor in the end. I also met this wonderful guy named Daniel in the fall of 2012. We met through a friend, and have been talking to each other just about every day ever since. Our first day was actually at Disney's Epcot Center, where we walked around the world, saw Boyz II Men in concert, watched fireworks, and had our first kiss in all of Disney's magicalness. I have to say that our relationship has been a new and wonderful experience. And even though we live far apart and only get to see each other maybe every 2 months, every time we see each other, it's like meeting each other again for the first time. Our relationship is still blossoming, and I look forward to what we have in store for the future. So now, I'm still currently working at my salon making people feel and look beautiful, while also taking classes to follow my dreams and earn my degree that I never finished. I've also started volunteering at the local hospital to help gain experience and insight of the medical world. It's going to take some time before my dreams are reached, but I'm ready for this next chapter of my life. In the meantime, I like to make videos and explore the world as much as I can. I may not upload a lot of material, but if there's something I do that I want to share with the world, you bet you'll see a video of it. I still enjoy capturing moments because I don't want to forget every little moment that there is. In this busy and very stressful world, making videos and watching them is my therapy. And if it brings a smile to someone else's face, then I hope I can help ease their mind from their busy life as well. I don't know where my life is going to take me, but I look forward to the ride. In the meantime, you'll be able to see tidbits of my journey through my videos. Thank you all for your support, I truly appreciate it. And of course, thanks for watching!